Last time we have read a small part of it originally. The context was the question which the Buddha himself said, that to the bhikkhus, if they should ask you, what are you studying here, or why are you practicing Dhamma, for what purpose? So he said you should answer them like this, that we are studying it for two insights. So when he gives various combinations of answers. So the first insight he said was, first way you can answer this question is, so I think I'll read out the question and the answer. What is the use of you listening to these good, noble teachings? Oh, because if there should be people that ask so, they should be answered like this. Yes, for right understanding of the two Dhammas. Then which two do you mean? Then he gives the answer. So last time we had read the first answer. Idam dukkham, I am dukkha samadayo hoti. Then this is dukkha, this is the origin of dukkha. This is one insight. This is the destruction of the dukkha. This is the way leading to destruction of dukkha. This is the second insight. And then the Lord had said, and those who do not understand dukkha and the origin of dukkha, they don't know the way leading to cessation of the dukkha. Such people are bereft of the liberation through citta and liberation through panya. Ceto vimukti and panya vimukti, both of them they cannot pass. And they will therefore continue to undergo birth and aging. And those who understand dukkha and its origin and how it can be totally stopped, they are possibility of Chitta being liberated through panya, and through the liberation of Chitta, putting an end to suffering is possible. This was what we had studied last time. So then Buddha gives so many other possible combinations. So we can read that. Number 2. Sya anyena paryayena samma.
सर कौन सा 732
के आगे है नंबर 2
732 का नंबर 2 सियानेनापि पर्यायेन सम्मा द्वयतानुपस्सनाति इति चे भिक्खवे पुच्छितारो अस्सु.
So if the bhikkhus, people ask you, can there be another way of understanding these two things, two insights? Then the answer is given next. Siyatissu vachniya katham cha siya. Then yam kinchi dukkha. This is the answer. So we can read the answer only.
Siyatissu yam kinchi dukkham sambodhi sabham upadipachyati aimeka upassana.
Yam kinchi dukkham, whatever is the suffering, sambodhi sabbam, which is arising, the consequence of upadipachyati. All of it is the consequence of upadhis. Now this word upadhi is a very interesting word. Dvayatanupassana. This is the first insight. Then what is the second?
Upadhi nam teva asi savari
Asesa virag nirodhan. It's standard phrase. That if this upadhi is faded, asesh virag means without any remainder, ashesh, remainder na rahe. It's complete remainderless fading and cessation of upadhis.
नथी दुखासा संभवति.
Sambhavati. So from the fading and cessation of upadhis, there is no dukkha. Dukkha cannot arise.
अयम द्वितीया अनुपसना.
Nipata. This is the second insight. And then he says the same thing. If this is continued, then the person will be either get completely liberated or he become an anagami. He can understand it thoroughly.
So this upadhi
Yes.
is
Upadhi
पहले
is
नहीं आया कभी इस तरह का.
पहले भी आया उपाधि एक बार आया था. Then also we had to discuss it. Now, if you see the dictionary, I have tried to write down in the third column the meanings. All kinds of meanings are there. Grasping, foundation, and wife, children, wealth, they are also called upadhis. Then kamma is the upadhi, being the foundation of the birth. So it essentially means the things to which we grasp. So even now in Hindi, if you say upadhi, it's called a designation has. He has some degree or some.
So उपाधि और उपादान में क्या है?
Upadhan is grasping of arising from tanha. This is arising from strongly from the self, me and mine. मेरे को कई उपाधियां मिल गई. So probably from that perspective, it is grasping from the self-view. So that is seen to be one of the causes. This is another way of understanding the same thing. That it is the upadhi which is the cause of all suffering.
उपादान है मूली cause of suffering.
Upadhan is through the other route. वो आगे आएगा.
ये हिंदी वाला जो
उपाधि है. हाँ, हिंदी में जो उपाधि है आजकल तो उपाधि को कहते हैं ना कि कोई डिग्री मिल गई है तो I have become. So it has a similar connotation even now.
more personal achievement.
Yeah. Personally, you are having children are personal, wealth is personal, wife is personal, isn't it? Kamma is personal. So that in that sense, which is associated with the basically with the self view. So then we can read the third one. We can just read the answer. Starting में सब में ये होगा सिया अन्येनापि पर्यायेन सम्मा द्वयतानुपस्सनाति इति चे भिक्खवे तुच्छितारो अस्सु. If because people ask you this question, is there another way of replying? Siyat issu vachniyai kathanche siya. Yes, you should say yes, there is. Then they will ask you kathanche siya. What is it? Then you reply. So after that question mark, that is the reply. So we can read that.
यम किंची दुखम संभोति सब्बम.
Whatever dukkha arises,
अविद्या
sabbam, all of it.
अविद्या पच्चायति.
Avidya pachayati. I am a
733 का 3.
अयमे कानुपस्सन.
This is the first insight. Yam kinchi dukkham, whatever is the suffering, sambodhi sabbam, which all of it arises, avidya pachay, which we all of course know. Whatever dukkha arises is all the consequence of avidya, that ignorance. This is the first insight. And then what is the second? Which is the same thing as dependent origination में जो आता है ना, अविद्यायत्वेव अशेष विराग निरोधा नत्थि दुःखस्य संभवति. So if the avidya is completely eliminated without any remainder, then natti dukkasya sambhavoti, then dukkha will not arise. Ayam Dvayatanupassana. This is the second insight.
So this seems to be very similar to noble truths. The four noble truths are.
It is, I mean, all various ways, the Buddha had the way of explaining same thing in various ways of understanding. किसी को उपाधि समझ में आएगा, किसी को अविद्या समझ में आएगी, किसी को नोबल ट्रूथ्स वाला समझ आएगा. आगे भी सब देखेंगे आप. We'll see all of it is of similar kind. So I'll just read out because it's repetitive. Then fourth measure, same thing, siyanyenapi. Then the answer given is sankharanam tve sabbam sambhavati. Yam kinchi dukkham sambhuti sabbam sankhara pacheya. Ayam ek anupassana. So this is the first insight. Whatever suffering is there is due to sankharas. And by the remainderless fading and cessation of sankharas, there is no more dukkha. Now you can see the same thing, dependent origination being repeated. Avidya pachaya sankhara. So avidya is a cause and sankhara is a cause. So whatever one can easily understand, you can see. Then from sankhara, if you remember dependent origination, sankhara pachaya, vijnanam, vijnana pachaya, namarupa pachaya, salayatana, and so on. So here, next concept will be vijnana. So whatever dukkha arises,
he starts with the not avidya, which is
Four Noble Truths. Four Noble Truths, then they started with Upadhi,
right,
then they gave, these are different ways of understanding. Then this is, he started with the avidya, sankhara, then consciousness. Yam kinchi dukkham sambhuti sabbam vijnana pachayati. Aham ek anupassana. So whatever dukkha arises, it's all consequence of vijnana. Obviously this vijnana is different.
Yeah.
It is the sense sphere again. It's quite obvious. Because otherwise, it's not the other anidarsana vijnana, whatever we have been discussing earlier. Then from vijnana,
So, because I didn't come yesterday, but I'm not sure whether we discussed last time. Ajahn Sumedho's, you said Ajahn Sumedho's reply on consciousness and
Dhammo's reply was different. Yeah,
there's difference. So did we discuss that?
Yeah, to some extent. Today also in that Abhinamma part we discussed it. I put it there. Just because you were not there, I put it again for that purpose. So now from Vijnana Pachaya Namrupa, he has ignored this. Namrupa Pachaya Sadayan Pachaya Phassa. So he has brought it Phassa only. So other things have been excluded. So it doesn't mean they are not important. Obviously at that particular moment, the Lord felt that these set of people need to be told this. So here the sixth one says, Yam kinchi dukkham sambhoti sabbam phassa pachayati. So it is from phassa. So whenever the senses come in contact with the objects, suffering can arise. So that's the way he is explaining us. The next one. Sankhara pachaya, then phassa pachaya vedana, vedana pachaya tanha. मैंने उसको बोल्ड में किया हुआ है. You see the translation, I have made it in bold so you can immediately come to that. So the next one is number 8. नहीं सर number 7 भूल गए ना. Number 7 is Yam kinchi dukkham sambhoti sabbam vedana pachayati. So whatever dukkha arises is all question of vedana. So same thing. Phassa pachaya vedana, then vedana pachaya tanha. So you can see the next 8th is Yam kinchi dukkham sambhoti sabbam tanha pachayati. So then you come to tanha. Then from tanha you come to upadana. So that whole sequence, the crucial things are pointed out. Because vijnana pachaya namarupa is bound to happen. Namarupa pachaya sadayatan, they are not cause of suffering per se. Sadayatan pachaya phassa is the initiation. When you contact, then you start the process, because then fetters can arise. So that way, he is distilled out from that dependent origination the things which are the proximate cause of dukkha, so to say.
But contact also is not specifically the cause.
Yeah, it's not the cause. But he's pointing out that is where the origination begins. Sambhoti. Origin can happen. If the contact is done without wisdom, then there will be and lead to suffering eventually. Of course, the most immediate cause will be Vedana Pachayatana. But when we'll study Patthana, we'll see causes can be in sequence. So the immediate cause, of course, is the Tanha. For that, the immediate cause is Vedana. So the next one, as expected, is Upadana. Yam kinchi dukkham sambhoti sabbam upadana pacchayati. Then that is the ninth one. Now another something different has come. So in 10th, what do you say? Yam kinchi dukkham sambhoti sabbam aramba pacchayati. This is not independent origination. So aramba means exertion. It means effort, which is basically associated with kamma, exertion based on self-view.
This comes in Tika Pathan, no? Aramman Pachya.
हाँ, वो तो उसमें पठान में आते हैं. This is discussion of what are the causes of suffering. So he's giving that. Those are only conditional relationships. So what is pointing out?
Arambha is the cause of dukkha.
Exertion. Because what is implicit is exertion is done with a self-view, matter wrong. Then only it is virya. So that's a different thing which is worth reflecting for us. Yam kinchi dukkham sambhoti sabbam arabha pacchayati. So arabha means from the effort, exertion associated with action. 10th number.
748 के नीचे.
748 के नीचे 10 number.
748.
Then next one is 11. Yam kinchi dukkham sambhoti sabbam ahara pacchayati. This is another way of looking at it. It is a consequence of aharas. Aharas are both gross and subtle, which I think we have already also once discussed. Because I put down if you read the remarks column, I have put it down. It is hunger that stands behind the entire process of nutrition, wielding its whip relentlessly. So it's written Bhikkhu Jnanabodhi, is written Jnanabodhika, very beautifully. It is hunger that stands behind the entire process of nutrition, wielding its whip relentlessly. The body from birth to death craves ceaselessly for material food, and mind hungers eagerly for its own kind of nourishment, for ever new sense impressions and for an ever expanding universe of ideas. So you can see how ahara is related to tanha. So if you look at ahara in that sense, you can see the relationship to tanha. Because all the time that feeling of food, both material and mental foods, keeps on arising. Next is even again another different thing. Yam kinchi dukkham sambhoti, that is number 12, after 749. Sabbam injita pacchayati. Injita means movement, perturbation, vacillation, or anything of that kind. But the author there has translated it as commotions. So the point being made is that whenever there is any movement or vacillation of the mind, the suffering begins from there. So among these movements, there is the shaking caused by craving, by pride, by heresy, by ditthi, by kamma, and by kileshas. So all these mental factors cause movement in the mind, vacillation in the mind, agitation in the mind, and that is also another way of looking at how suffering is caused. And I think we all can easily relate to it.
सब कुछ ही सफरिंग है. सोचो तो सफरिंग है, सोचो तो सफरिंग है. दिमाग में कुछ भी सोचो तो सफरिंग है, और नहीं सोचो तो करेगी.
ये तो so कितना cautious रहने की जरूरत है.
मतलब सभी सजग रहो और सजगता में भी टेंशन हो जाएगी अब
अगर टेंशन रहोगे तो उसमें से वो फिर ये इसी इसमें आ जाएगा ना, मूवमेंट ऑफ द माइंड. शुड बी नेचुरल. अभी आप बैठी हैं तो सजग है ना, सुन रही है ना, इससे क्या है, बीइंग अवेयर. इसका मतलब बेसिकली बीइंग अवेयर ऑफ व्हाटएवर इज हैपनिंग, not lost in our own internal dialogues. The next one is number 13. Nisitasya chalitam hototi ayam ek anupassana. That is from the dependence there is vacillation. Nishida means dependence. किसी के ऊपर dependent है. Chalitam hototi, because of the dependence there is a perturbation. Chalitam hototi means there is a mind is मन चलने लगता है. अयम एक अनुपस्सना. अनिश्चित हो तो न चलती थी. सो अनिश्चित है जो इंडिपेंडेंट है उसका मन वैसिलेट नहीं करेगा. And then this is the second insight. Then these are another way of understanding what is the cause of suffering and how it can be overcome. The next one is again very interesting. Here he is not directly talking of that. He is talking of रूपे ही बिखरे अरूपा संत तरंति कराति ayam ek anupassana. Rupe means rupa forms are comparatively bhikkave arupa santa tarati. Arupa means formless. So formless bhikkhus are calmer than the rupas. So the formless, reflection on formless or meditation on formless will give you calmness, much more calm than reflection on rupas. This is the first insight. Arupe hi nirodho santaropi ayam dutiyanupassana. And in comparison to formless, cessation is even calmer than formless. Cessation of the vijnana is even calmer than.
What is the contemplation of the formless?
He is probably referring here in this case to the various meditations, jhanas which we do. Because formless jhanas give you great peace.
So, sir,
It's pointing out that even that peace is not the cessation of suffering. It comes essentially from cessation of the vijnana, which is the cessation of avidya, or whichever, wherever we stop.
so constant meditating on breath would be meditating on form, because breath is form, but maybe sound or silence is formless.
In some ways. In the Buddha's system, those beyond the four jhanas, the formless jhana, Rup jhana, Arup jhana, and infinite consciousness, neither senses, perception nor conception, those four more jhanas, they are all formless jhanas because they are dependent not on any form. So they give great peace. So he's probably cautioning about that. That they are definitely calmer than the form, but that's not the end of suffering. The end of suffering is cessation. Cessation of all this, which comes to insight.
जब इस स्थिति पर पहुंचे तो उसमें cessation नहीं लगता.
लगता है वही तो कह रहे हैं ना. It gives you calmness, but you are not really free. So focus should be on cessation of, ending of the avidya. That should be the focus. Now other set of things. Now he's talking of another way of looking at it. Another set of contemplations. Yam bhikkhave sadevakasya lokasya samarakasya sambrahmakasya sasamana brahmaniya pajaya sadeva manusayam. In that old domain, idam sachanti upanijhayatam tadamariyanam etam musati yathabhutam samapan sampannaya sudithitam ayam eka anupassana. So what he is saying is that whatever the world of men, gods, Brahmas, all that, what has been seen to be true by them
the noble ones see through perfect knowledge that is false. So all of them are included in it. And then the obverse of it is whatever is considered false by the world of men and others is really seen through by the noble ones through their perfect knowledge. So he's referring to
first one, it's understood that they may be calling something which is unreal as real.
yeah,
But
it is
second
referring
one,
to the whole world, no? Whole of our experience, world of experience, which we treat as real.
but whatever they consider false, the noble ones consider true.
Yeah, because
What could be the example?
the Nibbana, they have not experienced it. For them, it is non-existent, and therefore, for them, that is the real thing. Everything else is impermanent, changing. That is the real thing which is not changing.
इसलिए
In that
आई
sense.
थिंक एक श्लोक आता है
हाँ,
जिसमें
बिल्कुल इसी तरह का है उसमें
कि सामान्य पुरुष का जो दिन है
हाँ, वो उसके लिए रात है similarly thing. Next one is also on the same light. Whatever is considered pleasure by the world of man, gods, Mara and all that, that has been seen to be really dukkha by the noble ones. And whatever is considered dukkha by the world of men, gods, is really seen to be pleasant by the noble ones. So the same thing is being said in another sense. One is giving explanation for that further. All sight, sound, smell, taste, tactile sensation and ideas that are welcome, appealing, agreeable are supposed to be by the world together with its devas and all to be bliss. And when they cease, they are supposed to be dukkha. But by the noble ones, the cessation of the personality, body, that is personality, is regarded as blissful. And this is opposite of what the rest of the world says. So what the fool says pleasure, that the noble one says dukkha. And what fool says dukkha, that the noble one says pleasure. See, here is a paradox which is difficult to understand because the ignorant are confounded. They cannot see through the reality. Pasya dhammam durajanam sam pamul hetha vidussu nivutanam tamo hoti andakaro apasat. Those who are in darkness, for those who are, have a veil, it's like darkness. And for the noble ones, those who are open, for them it is light. By those who are overcome by passion of existence, by those that follow the stream of existence, by those that have entered the realm of Mara, this Dhamma is not perfectly understood. Who accept the noble ones deserve the well understood state of Nipata. Having rightly known this state, those free from defilements are completely calmed. This is the end of the sutta. Thus spoke the Blessed One, then the same standard things are given. But the interesting thing is, while this explanation was being given, the minds of 60 bhikkhus were liberated.
ये तो हर सूत्र में होता है।
हर में नहीं है, कुछ में सेलेक्टिवली सबसे ज्यादा फायर सुत्ता में
फायर में कितने सर 1000
वो जो उसके थे ना सारे उरुवेला कश्यप बंधु जो
सारे इकट्ठे हो गए थे
हम तो बड़े टाइम से सूत्र सुनते आ रहे हैं
You're not reflecting on it deeply, no? Not reflecting on it deeply. So let us spend a few minutes reflecting on them in silence. So whatever has struck us most, we can reflect on that. So many options are available. So, any questions or any discussion needed? There is need for some question here because many of the things which have been mentioned here as origin of dukkha are traditionally not a part of that list. Rasa and Vedana are not a part of that list. Traditionally, they become a part if there is a Vijja around it. So we should be careful on that. I mean, all of us can have different combinations which can impress us as very relevant. Say the exertions, arambha, for example, putting in a concept of doership. The moment there is doership, there will be suffering. There's no doubt on that. Normally, we don't reflect on that in that moment. Those Four Noble Truths we have been talking, and so we are very apparently familiar with it. But if you see its manifestation, doership for us is one of the key factors where we get caught. And attainments, upadhis, if you interpret it as attainment, is quite obviously a very big challenge for householders to get out of.
उपाधि होती है सर, अपना पापा बन गया हूँ, मैं ऑफिस में मैनेजर बन गया हूँ,
मैनेजर बन गया
और मेरा अपना घर है.
तो बट इसकी एक्सटेंशन यहाँ पे भी तो है कि अगर हम so enlightenment क्या एक उपाधि है?
If you take it as, then we will never get it. That's why he says, no? If you are भगवान से तो दिन रात यही कहते रहते हैं.
हाँ, सर मैं एक्चुअली मैंने क्वेश्चन भेजा भी था, बट मैंने ज्ञान धर्मों को ही पूछा दीपक ने कि अगर एनलाइटनमेंट एक उपाधि है कि भाई उसको पर्सनली लिया, then we all work towards enlightenment only.
That's why it's a paradox, ना? We've discussed it with Radley Smith case में कई बार discuss किया था. It's a big catch. We start by putting effort, and then we are told we put effort, you'll never reach it. तो I think उसमें जो self deception में उसने काफी ठीक से explain करने की कोशिश की थी. That everybody will have to start by putting effort. Everybody will keep an objective, obviously. But if you
at the level of अजान से मिलो, जब अपने monks को बोलते हैं,
वो तो अब he doesn't speak at.
So
I think he must therefore not be giving.
Motivate his monks कि आप meditation करो.
He tells them to reflect, and that reflect on the basis of experience. Isn't it? So maybe the novices, he doesn't talk to them. He may not be talking to them.
But on the other hand, Ajahn Nyandamo, focuses a lot on effort and
because he focuses on jhanas and mental attainments. अब हर एक का अपना अपना फ्लेवर है ना.
वैसे इसको अगर हम इस तरीके से कभी हम अपने दुखों से छुटकारा के लिए ध्यान करते रहे, हमें क्या एनलाइटमेंट को पूछना ही नहीं है. जब तक देखी जाएगी करते रहे,
दुखों का से छुटकारा ही तो एनलाइटमेंट है.
ध्यान करने का मतलब क्या है?
एनलाइटमेंट को क्यों फोकस करें कि हमें वहां पहुंचना है? हम करते रहे अपना काम, जब तब आएगी.
एनलाइटमेंट तो नाम है ना, शब्द है. शब्द को छोड़ दे. दुखों से छुटकारे का मतलब एनलाइटमेंट. तो क्या उसका मतलब क्या है? कोई शब्द हो ना, वो तो शब्द दिया हुआ है. वो तो उपाधि बना दी ना उसको. उसको शब्द दे के उपाधि बना दी हमने.
धीरे धीरे
तो इसलिए तो बार बार कहते हैं ना, इसमें क्या नाम इनका, अजान सुमेर तो कई बार कहते हैं ना, देयर इज नो पर्सन हु इज एवर गोइंग, इफ यू आर अ पर्सन सीकिंग एनलाइटनमेंट, फेलियर इज अश्योर्ड. Because no person can ever get enlightened. There is no question of, nobody gets enlightened. Because enlightenment means seeing through the delusion of personality. अगर वही नहीं समझ में आएगा तो फिर हम आगे कैसे बढ़ेंगे? बहुत गहरी चीज है ना, उसको हमको खूब गहराई से तो उसी सेंस में seeing through the delusion of personality. These are the ways where personality catches us. उपाधि है, exertion है, मैं तो एफर्ट करके रहूंगा. course, Ran Sumedo की तो अपने insight है. He has studied only four noble truths separately, but later he must have studied all Sutta. He keeps on saying, quoting. Sometimes he quotes it when he is in different mood. He'll talk of एक डिस्कोर्स में उन्होंने 10 फैक्टर की भी बात कर रखी है. जहां हमारों ने कहा कि पहली बार सुना, he never talks beyond 3.
हाँ, मैंने जितने सुना 3 ही सुने.
But this today he chose to talk about all the time. So he is a different kind of person, I think. He doesn't.
तो मैं एक्चुअली दीपक से भी कहता कि जितनी बार भी राम समेदो को सुना, और वहाँ पे भी जब जितनी दीपक की रिकॉर्डिंग्स भी थी, his way of teaching is only through sharing his experiences. But for example, Ajahn Jnana Dhammo was more
structured,
preaching, structured, you know.
He shares experiences and then asks you to reflect. Then he says, okay, this is for your reflection.
And Ajahn Jnana Dhammo was kind of, you know, formal, structured, simile-based teachings.
He teaches in a structure because he is a abbot now, no? So he has to take care of novices.
हाँ, but when Ajahn Sumedho की जो अमरावती वाली talks हैं, वो ऐसी हैं. When he was also a abbot, I think he
realized that this is the key thing.
This is the key thing. So
he says, एक discourse में कहते हैं ना, why muck about everything here and there? सीधे. So he must be thinking today is second day of retreat and I am talking of this. So then he will laugh at himself and laugh at everybody कि क्या हो रहा है. But this is the way. But I think for us who have been meditating for so many years, that is a key thing which we have to keep in mind. All right, everybody has his own way of teaching. They are all valid ways. So which of these will appeal to us will depend on our state of our understanding. And any questions from our friends? Any questions related with this sutta? Were the friends available? Yes. So, which लोग हैं? Four persons are there. Amitji is there. Then Sudhakar's wife Nirmala is there. Rajendra ji is there. And Shilesh is there. Any comments or questions on this sutta before we shift to Abhidhamma? Good. So we can move further. Sir, अभी अर्पण का मैसेज आया था that he is available if you want to talk. हाँ, कुछ अभी तो क्लियर हो गया हमारा सामान खरीदने का. तो we are done with everything. कैप्स का थोड़ा अभी डाउटफुल है. तो आपने उनको कह दिया कैप्स के बारे में कि नहीं कहा? He said that the person said that he'll search for it and if he can find the caps he will tell me. तो फिर तो दूसरी ले लेंगे हम. वही जो थी जो तुमने पहले दिखाई. सर वो अवेलेबल नहीं है, मतलब कहीं किसी के पास दिखाई तो थी. एक आध पीस किसी के पास मिल जाता है. अच्छा, सब नहीं मिलेंगे एक साथ. नहीं, थोड़ा बहुत डिफरेंस मिल जाए. नहीं सर, मिलेंगे नहीं. मैं पूरी लाइन चलने वक्त खाली 2 कैप्स दिखी थी. अब मुझे ही कुछ करना पड़ेगा. एक बार या तो अर्पण को बोलो he can find the cap. अभी तो वो राजगीर में पूछ लो, उससे बात करना. वो कह रहा था ना उसको ऐसे. नहीं, वो शॉल कह रहा था कल रात. जिसके पास शॉल होगी कल रात को उसने कहा था ना कि शॉल यहाँ मिल रहे हैं. पर वो कैप्स फोन ही कर लो. नहीं, कुछ नियर बाई भी चल जाएगा. फोन कर लो. अर्पण ऑनलाइन तो होगा नहीं ना, वो तो वहाँ कहाँ पहुँचा हुआ होगा. Maybe in his chat. अपैरल शॉप से ना कैप्स तो मिल जाती है. डिफरेंट टाइप की, बट वो है कि नियर बाई कलर चूज कर लेंगे, नियर बाई इसे काम चलाएंगे.
Hello?
चलो चाय वो कर लो, चाय टी कर लो. आवाज नहीं आ रही. मे बी ऑन द रोड और समवेयर.
यार पर एक ही चीज पूछनी थी कि अभी ना कैप्स का फाइनल नहीं हुआ है. आई विल सीन द कैप्स देयर. आप ले लेंगे यहाँ से? ठीक है. So only thing right now we're arranging is shawls, but nothing else in clothes.
Socks.
Oh.
Socks.
Okay. If you find anything else also in clothes, you can buy.
बाकी चीजें तो खरीद दी है, वो बोल दो, बाकी तो खरीद दी है ना.
I think सर वो किसी उसमें बिजी है वहाँ पे, तो just trying to. मैं बाकी एक बार दोबारा से.
हाँ तो फिर तुम वहाँ चलेंगे.
नहीं सॉक्स कैप्स को उसने बोल दिया.
गेट
और मैं भी एक बार
कंफर्म कर लेना, तो उनको मना कर देना.
तो राजेंद्र जी का क्वेश्चन है.
He's saying I wanted to know about Angham. So Rajendra ji saying he wanted to know about Angham.
Did it come anyone?
So he asked for clarification.
What was it?
Angham. Angham.
वो किसमें था? Was it in the Sutta somewhere? Which number can you point out? Then I will have a look at it. I don't remember. Anga means actually a part. But इसमें है कहीं आया हुआ क्या? Was it one of the? It was not a cause, no? Key thing तो नहीं था. अविद्या था. उपाधि था, अविद्या था. Then after avidya, vijnana, then phassa. And then there is अनागामीन को तो नहीं गलती से अंग पढ़ रहे. Then Vedana is there, then Dukkha is, Tanha is there, Upadan. Just उनको लिख दो.
सर ने पूछा है कि एक बार रेफरेंस दे देंगे.
Where is this word Angha is read?
If you can even point out the number जहाँ पे हम.
Then there is Arabha.
आरब्ध तो नहीं.
आरंभ है.
आरब कौन से में से?
नंबर 10 है ना, वो 10 748 के बाद नंबर 10
आरंभ होगा सर.
जो पठान में है ना बेटा, वो आरंभन है. आरंभन नहीं.
This is a different word.
आरंभन is an object.
आरम्भना सर उसी से आया सर.
आरंभन जो है ना, आरंभन बच्चे, आरंभन मीन्स एन ऑब्जेक्ट. वो शब्द यूज करते हैं बार बार. आरंभन,
आरम्भना यूज करते हैं.
सेम थिंग, बट हियर इट इज आरंभ. आरंभ, BMBH.
This is from Arambha and that is from Alamban.
That's right.
He's saying yes. So yeah, so section the 10 whatever arises is all consequence of the
Arambha. Arambha means the doership, the effort. When there is effort associated with doership, then there is a suffering. So anywhere, whenever we do anything and we feel I am the doer, that will be a origin of suffering. Will start from there. Whichever way, whether what we do is successful or unsuccessful, in both cases it will lead to suffering. Because in one case it will lead to pride and tanha, in other case it will lead to dejection, that I couldn't do well. So that's the point being made.
Rajendra ji, does this answer? Saying yes.
So let us start that.
Silesh is typing something else. Rajendra ji is saying that I wanted some example.
Any work, any action which we do, which is imbued with the feeling of doership, whatever, study, physical action, service, it could be a meditation. If we are meditating with the idea I am meditating, that will lead to suffering also. Because the notion of I will strengthen. So any activity wherein the notion of I is taken to be real and we get attached to it that I am the doer, then that because actions are happening because of the stream of karma operating through us. And so we take them personally and then we create more karma.
Silesh is asking again this paradox. Without sense of doership, where is the scope of for improvement in practical world?
Yeah, and in practical world also one has to see if our objective is to quote unquote succeed in practical work, then of course we can get caught in it. If we do it as a matter of course, then there's no issue. One can continue to do work with the understanding that I have these capabilities and I allow the nature to operate and create these capabilities for the good of the society, then there's no issue. It doesn't mean we don't do work really. If we can do work with that
but clarity. In office, what happens is that there is always a push from top. Get this done, get this delivered, and you have to push people down.
That also can be done without, even it's more difficult obviously, but that also can be done without bringing personality into you. Isn't it? It can be done as a matter of routine. When we are driving a car, I need not be a person there. I know how to drive a car and I am doing it, that's it. Period. Usually we are not a person unless the neighbor honks and shouts at us, then we become, what the hell. Isn't it? So most of the time we work in that manner. But when the moment something arises, some axe to grind or some fear, some apprehension, then the person arises. If all the time we are thinking I am this, तो जीना मुश्किल हो जाएगा. So most of the time we are not imbued with it. But whenever there is a self-view, whenever there is a tanha of some kind,
ऊपर से नहीं होता है कि अंदर से तो होता है कि मैं कर रहा हूँ
नहीं गाड़ी चलाते हुए नहीं होगा. अगर होगा तो फिर गाड़ी नहीं चलेगी, फिर एक्सीडेंट ही होगा.
गाड़ी चलाते हुए
कभी तो आप टेंशन में रहती है.
जब मैं गाड़ी चलाती हूँ तो पहले बैठ के मुझे आता है कि देखो मैं तो मैं एकदम साथ में ये भी सोचती हूँ कि देखो मेरे में क्या चल रहा है. मतलब
इनमें वो थॉट तो एक चीज है, बट कभी ब्रेक लगाते हुए ये नहीं सोचता कि हाँ मैं ब्रेक लगा रहा हूँ.
लगती है
वो तो सब तरफ से, लेकिन ये दिमाग में मेरे जरूर आता है और साथ में ये भी आ जाता है कि देखो
टेंशन
जग रहा है, कैसे मेरे ये जग रहा है, मतलब जो भी जग रहा है क्या
टेंशन होता रहता है ना, इसलिए
फिर एकदम शांत हो जाता है.
एवरीबडी कैन वेरीफाई. कोई भी काम अगर हम उसमें डूअरशिप रहेगी तो टेंशन होगा, पक्की बात है. तो it has been verified hundreds of times. Each of us can verify it, no doubt about it. Whether in office or at home, kuch bhi, whether meditating. For us as meditators, it is even more crucial actually. meditate with the self-view, then you will be in deep trouble. मन यार है आपको हमारा माना है कि क्या है, इतने साल हो गए फिर भी भटक रहा है. अपना मन आपने अपना बना दिया, उसको पकड़े रहो.
So Rajendra ji is saying that, but for ordinary meditators, how can he remove I?
That is why we need for understanding. That's very right, but that's why need for understanding. If you don't understand, then there will be difficulty. In the beginning part is okay that you are trying to learn how to bring mind in some calmness, something, that's fine. But beyond a certain level, it becomes counterproductive. That's why most people get into trouble. After a few years of meditation, you get into trouble. You feel you reach a standard level. Then you get upset, go to camp, come back. Again get upset, go to camp, come back. That keeps on happening. You never get out of this trap of going up and down, up and down, up and down. Because everything is imbued with the self-view. अविद्या पच्चे असंखार आदि पढ़ा ना, जब विद्या बनी रहेगी तो फिर nothing will happen. This is the standard phrase of Ajahn Sumedho. If you begin with avidya, you are bound to suffer.
लोग जाते ही सीधे जैसे आपने बताया कि
हाँ, अधिकतर हम भी शुरू में ऐसे ही जाते थे, और कैसे जाते थे,
मतलब जानने की जो है जिज्ञासु बहुत
थोड़ा होता थे. हाँ, कुछ हद तक तो हमको ये था कि हाँ भाई जानना है हो क्या रहा है. That perspective, not many people have time and inclination to do it. And it is a question of really investigation. अगर हम investigate ही नहीं करेंगे तो फिर वही दिक्कत है.
People don't want to investigate ना ज़्यादातर. They want to just.
That's all right. We are not interested in people. We are interested in our selfish people. At the moment, we are interested in ourselves. Ajahn Nandhamma ने ये बात बहुत strongly कही थी. Remember? तुमने सुना होगा ना? It strongly mentioned in that portion that you people keep on meditating and observing sensations, and that's not enough. Just keep on observing. You have to investigate your effect. Without investigation, you what will you gain? You will get some peace of mind. That's all. Unless you investigate and penetrate into the nature of reality, this will also lead to peace of mind, because you are being mindful. This becomes more of a samadhi exercise. You are being mindful of sensations, mindful. If you don't investigate, it won't happen. Insight will not become strong.
I think, sir, I remember this discussion with Akhilesh when he was comparing the two categories of religions that are there in the world. And Ajahn Sumedho also mentions this in some of his talks. Then there is a set of religions where we start with a belief. You believe and then you follow. And there is another set where it is the primary faith is an investigation. In Buddhism, Hinduism, it says that we call ourselves seekers rather than followers. So I think I found this very useful, that if we are there to go to a camp, learn something and just follow it, then we kind of having a belief कि ये करने से वो कम हो जाएगा, उसको हम follow करते रहेंगे, rather than investigating ourselves कि चलो देखें तो सही ये सच भी कह रहे हैं कि नहीं.
उसमें ये थोड़ी सी डिफरेंटी ये हो जाती है that by following you begin to feel good effect, and then you feel कि इसी को follow करते रहेंगे तो फायदा हो जाएगा. So that is a big catch really, because you do get benefits. You do get benefits, and then you believe कि इतने benefit मिले हैं तो यही करते 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 पार भी हो जाएंगे. अभी तो मैंने इतना एफर्ट किया तो मेरे को गुस्सा थोड़ा कम हो गया, तो खत्म होते होते बिल्कुल फ्री हो जाऊंगा. But we don't realize the root कहाँ है उसकी.
Silish is saying that doesn't mindfulness naturally lead to investigative mind?
Yes,
it should. It doesn't.
मुझे भी यही है, मेरा भी शुरू से ये रहा कि जब if you are mindful और आप कर रहे हो तो अपने आप एक स्थिति ऐसी आएगी जब आपको इन्वेस्टिगेशन लेवल अपने आप शुरू होगा, आप अपने आप ही. ऐसा मेरा बहुत
करके देखना चाहिए अपने को. You should investigate. हो सकता है किसी को होता हो, but it's not natural, it's not automatic. And that is the insight which comes from Abhidhamma. You remember? Wholesome chittas are alobha and adosa. Amoha is not a part of it. Amoha is occasional, not universal. So those great people who have investigated, even if it was not Buddha, whosoever it was who wrote Abhidhamma, they've really seen through that. That when the chitta is wholesome, you may be free from lobha, you may be free from dosha, but you must still not be free from delusion. You may not be having panya. And that is investigation. That comes from investigation.
ये करते करते मान लो ऐसी चेतना करेगी कि
नहीं अगर आ जाती है तो अच्छी बात है, बट जाग नहीं सकती.
ऐसा कोई उदाहरण नहीं है पीछे की.
उदाहरण नहीं, तो थ्योरी की बात बता रहा हूँ. फंडामेंटल अभिधम्मा का फंडामेंटल है कि ये ऑटोमेटिक नहीं है. One has to do it. Do it means it may happen because of past sankharas, somebody that he is investigating. But it is not automatic that every wholesome chitta will have panya.
Automatic नहीं है, but करते करते
every wholesome chitta will not have
panya.
panya.
Then you will investigate.
So we have to see that.
Investigation level will start.
We have to see that. We have to be cautious that we are investigating our experience of what does investigation mean? Seeing the three characteristics of every experience. Seeing impermanence, seeing that it is unsatisfactory, seeing that it is impersonal. All the three things should be seen. Actually, obviously, every moment you can't do that. Periodically, we should investigate, and the deeper experiences which really shake us up. That is the bell when we should investigate. किस खंड को मैंने अपना मान लिया, दुख का कारण है. So that kind of investigation is crucial. Normally, we try to get out of suffering quickly by, observe the breath, observe sensations, do something so that you get out of it. Then we lose the chance of investigation. Okay. So if we investigate at that time, that is a great benefit. But then you start penetrating into the nature of reality.
शुरू में इन्वेस्टिगेशन शुरू करनी चाहिए.
शुरू में नहीं करने मतलब शुरू की बात नहीं कर रहा, मैं तो हमारी अपनी बात कर रहा हूँ. 20-30 साल हो गए साधना करते हुए.
जैसे हम करते हैं तो साथ साथ इन्वेस्टिगेशन भी करनी चाहिए. पीरियडिकली जो अनुभव हो रहा है हमको, क्या मैं उसको पर्सनली ले रहा हूँ या नहीं ले रहा हूँ. Am I able to see the impersonal nature? सांस को आ रहा है जा रहा है. Am I able to see that it is happening naturally? मैं नहीं सांस ले रहा. Am I able to see that I am not feeling the sensations? It is not I who is feeling the sensations. It is consciousness which is feeling the sensations. I am not doing it. But that has to get internalized by again and again practice. When you practice again and again and again and reflect, then we understand मैं किसको कह रहा हूँ. मैं किसको मैं कह जा रहा हूँ. So that is, it does not get established just by doing it once. It needs years of repeated reflection. And जांच में कहते हैं मुझे 50 साल हो गए ये करते हुए. So obviously, and he is doing it full time. Just imagine, with all the sincerity and intensity he has been doing it. So it needs appropriate intensity of reflection to be able to really see through the delusion of personality and get through this exertion, doership concept. मैं कर रहा हूँ. You can easily, with practice, it becomes quite obvious. Obviously, I am not doing it. This life force which is operating through me, I am doing it. That's it. One stroke and finished. You're just a lump of log of wood.
So there was a pending question from Silesh that when you strive to improve, I arises And isn't that the natural requirement to improve? Improving, yes. For improving, yes, it will arise. But by improving, you cannot get out of I. And if you want enlightenment, you have to get out of I. That is the paradox. You can definitely improve, become a better human being. Effort करेंगे तो क्यों नहीं बने? We will give up our tendencies of negative tendencies to the extent possible. Definitely by improving, we will become better. No doubt. We have done it, and we can verify it from our own experience that we become better. And so many thousands and people who are meditators have become better by practicing. But they can't get over the delusion of personality by that. So it needs a big shake-up to see that the delusion of personality is the core of it. Because the extent of improvement is limited by that. Self-improvement which you can get with the notion of I is limited. Because eventually the notion of I is at the root of all impurities. Craving and aversion arise at the base of I. Then initially you have the suffering of a thief, then you have the suffering of a noble person, so-called noble person. Suffering is there because he is a person.
So if there is an arahant running a monastery, would he not want to improve the monastery?
Improve in the sense, you see, read this. This question is very good. You see the interaction between Ajahn Sumedho. If you recall the discourses, there's one discourse in which he says when he was, that monastery was set up, and he was asked to become the abbot. No, he was not asked to become the abbot, but there were other monks in that. So he says that I once went to Ajahn and told him this particular monk is creating havoc. And I just told him, and which was everything was fact. Everybody knew that he is really, and he told your monastery is going down the hill, and if you don't do anything, it will be totally destroyed. So if you want to improve it, do something. So Ajahn says, I see. Things are impermanent, it's okay. And when he insists कि नहीं वो particular monk जो है, so he still listens to it. So the improvement and deterioration will happen because of its natural causes. And a person who is established will not take it personally. He'll find out and then take appropriate action, that's it. If a bhikkhu is not working properly, bring him, talk him, motivate him.
लेकिन जैसे ये भिक्षु वगैरह रहते हैं, सामान्य लोगों से इनका जो जीवन है, इनको साधना करने में इतनी कठिनाई नहीं आती होगी। जैसे जो हाउस होल्डर्स है, हाउस होल्डर्स को तो काफी मतलब, तो उनके लिए इतना सरल नहीं है क्या साधना करना?
मतलब भिक्षु बनना सरल नहीं है ना, सबसे पहले तो यही बात है।
भिक्षु बनना सरल नहीं है।
वही सबसे बड़ी बात तो वो है कि वो अगर कोई सचमुच में अपनी अंदर की चेतना से भिक्षु बनता है तो इसका तो उसके काफी हद तक पिछले जो राग द्वेष कम है ना, जो संसार के प्रति अट्रैक्शन है वो कम है, तभी तो वो उधर जाएगा। कोई ऐसे भी होते हैं जो बेचैन होकर परेशानी होकर जाते हैं, फिर वो ज्यादा देर टिक नहीं पाते हैं, ऐसा भी होता है।
उनके लिए साधना करनी हम जैसे लोगों के कंपैरेटिवली
because they have more time available.
They have more time and they don't have interaction with the people.
नहीं, ऐसा थोड़ा है।
नहीं, they have limited interaction with the 10, 20, 50 monks.
That's enough.
That's enough.
That's enough. I mean, so we have at least 2-3 people in the family जिससे सारा दिन हम
How many people we have in our family? हम दो ही तो हैं।
10 होते हैं। वो 10 के 10 बर्तन होंगे तो ज्यादा खड़केंगे, 3 बर्तन कम खड़कते हैं।
50 तो बहुत है, 50 तो बहुत है,
क्योंकि वो सारा टाइम एक ही कम्युनिटी में
रहते
रहते हैं,
इकट्ठे रहते हैं राउंड द क्लॉक।
वो तो जहाँ सुने तो आप discourses सुनोगे तो in so many times he
It
mentions
mentions-
how the conflicts happened and
in monasteries.
and how he एक डिस्कोर्स में ये भी कहते हैं I used to think these people don't respect me enough. Imagine he's giving a discourse to people. I mean, just saying that shows the person is really seen through that whole delusion, and he's laughing. And I said that this person is not giving me respect. And then I said, have they come here to become enlightened or to respect me?
These kind of insights.
Tremendous insight. When you see through that, the person's he has all possible avenues of delusion is broken through and seen through that.
So in one of the discourses, he also mentioned that when Ajahn Chah died, many monks said that we need to maintain this discipline and keep this monasteries the way he's running. Then, but I really asked that, is it what Ajahn Chah really meant, that to keep monasteries and to idealize these things, to take him to some pedestal?
He was told that you come because the Vatpanana was in deep disarray. उनका एक discourse आता है कि when I came, they were all attending to Ajahn Chah, and there used to be in Vatpanana there used to be 30-40 bhikkhus. There were only 3, no cleaning, nothing, everything was striven, nobody was bothering. And then lay people came and said, oh, Ajahn Bhikkhu, this present that Ajahn who was there, Ajahn Lee or somebody, he is no good, he is not taking care of monastery, it is all dying, it is finished, you please come here. And then he says this question, that Ajahn Chah ने तो मुझे वहाँ भेजा है, if it is to die, let it die. It will take its own shape, and it took shape. Now you go and see what Panana Chah, what a lively organ center it is.
So Siddhesh was asking, when you were talking about investigation, is there a metric for investigative mind? Yet another paradox?
Really, it's a question of those Bhojangas. No? We study there. We don't reflect on them Bhojangas. First one is Sati, second is Dhamma Vichay. So we must see what does it mean. Dhamma Vichay means breaking apart our experience and seeing it for what it is. And I think the biggest experience we should break apart is this, at least the strong experiences of suffering. If we break apart those strong experiences of suffering properly, rather than suffering, then we investigate what the hell is going on here. Who is suffering and why is suffering? Then the whole thing will fall apart, absolutely fall apart. Then you get insight, oh, I caught hold of, भगवान ने कहा पंच उपादान खंड का दुख तो इस खंड के साथ मैंने अभी तो शरीर के साथ हुआ कि परसेप्शन के साथ अटक गया या फीलिंग के साथ अटक गया या संखारों को अपना मान लिया मैं ही तो those then that investigation immediately becomes very, very powerful. Then you see, acha, this is where I get caught. Next time the chances of getting caught there will reduce. But if you don't see it, and then it is again the same thing. There is suffering, okay, सांस को देख लो, धीरे धीरे कम हो जाएगी.
So you asking?
Yeah, I was asking that when we undertake this investigation and reach a certain conclusion or understanding, how do we verify that that's the right understanding at that point?
So हमारी अपनी our own internal awareness will tell us, because if there is a doubt, then the doubt should also be seen as an event which has arisen, and wait for it to verify. It has to be done by us. Nobody else can do it. Nobody else can do it.
One thing that I find very useful is, which has come inside, it is about the faith. If we have the faith that we will eventually understand, then we'll start to trust our investigation and its results and the paths that it is, sometimes ups and downs. Because we generally have more faith on validating with somebody else. That if we find something, how do we know it is correct or not? But if we have the faith that the understanding is, in our traditional Hindu, we clearly believe that we have all the understanding with us eventually. Mm-hmm. So if that faith increases, we we move towards that and start to trust it more than trust what we hear from others. I think that I found it very useful.
Investigation is not really part of understanding. No? I don't think there is anything to understand in investigation.
But you are investigating properly, right or wrong?
हाँ वो वाला क्वेश्चन है कि कुछ समझ में आया, ऐसा ना हो ना कि कुछ गलत ही समझ में आया।
मतलब गलत को आप ठीक मान के चल रहे हैं।
कैसे करेंगे आप? देखिए ना, if you investigate within the paradigm set by Buddha, there is no way that you can do anything wrong. You are suffering and you investigate, you are calmly sitting and investigating. Okay, tanha is the cause of suffering, so let me find out where it is. How can you go wrong? About that, there is, you can say it is faith. But that is obvious. I mean, there is no doubt now. It's not a question of faith that attachment to khandas is a cause of suffering. This we know for sure, isn't it? About that, there is no doubt. There is no need for verifying from anybody. Now, what we are investigating कि किस खंड से अटैच हुआ मैं, उसमें कोई दिक्कत ही डाउट होने का चांस ही नहीं। हाँ, हो सकता है मुझे पता ही ना चले, मुझे पता नहीं चला, दैट्स फाइन। आई मे नॉट बी एबल टू फिगर आउट बिकॉज माउंट इज सो क्लाउडेड, पता ही नहीं चला। बट उसमें किसी तरह का डाउट होने का कोई पॉसिबिलिटी ही नहीं है। In the light of seeing, there's no, it's only seeing, it's not understanding. It's just pure seeing.
पता नहीं चलेगी जो स्थिति है।
हाँ तो ठीक है, मन बहुत ज्यादा जब वो इग्नोरेंस ज्यादा हो जाए ना, एजिटेशन है जैसे, ये जो मोह का संस्कार जैसे एजिटेशन आ गई या डाउट हो गया, then you may not be able to find out. So then fine, okay. But normally, the most of the causes of dukkha are so powerful that the breaking into that, if the mindfulness is reasonable, that is very important. The mindfulness has to be reasonable. So that with practice it becomes obvious. What I am trying to say is that one may not be able to find out, but possibility of getting wrong is not there, in my opinion, because you are just seeing, you are not thinking. You are not thinking कि क्या हो रहा है.
अब ध्यान करते करते कहीं उनका जैसे होता है ना, दिमाग कर जाता है, कहीं उनका जैसे नहीं होता, मतलब कि जैसे कोई समझ नहीं आता, घूम गया। एक बार तो आईटी में कोई आया था ना आपके पास, करते करते वो व्हाट इज दैट?
That's basically delusion. मोह ज्यादा ही हो गया, एंड वो मोह इसलिए हो गया कि आपने एक्सपीरियंस को अपने पुराने तरीके से इन्वेस्टिगेट करना शुरू कर दिया, तो भगवान ही मानेगा।
कुछ ऐसे
वो तो उसको तो ऐसे ही हुआ था ना कि उसने
कहीं एक दुका सुना था मैंने, तो वो इससे कनेक्टेड नहीं है।
इन्वेस्टिगेशन थोड़ा ना कर रहे हैं वो लोग, इन्वेस्टिगेटिंग, दे आर अंडरस्टैंडिंग। When you try to understand, then there is a possibility of misunderstanding. In your investigation, either you succeed or you don't succeed, isn't it? कोई भी इन्वेस्टिगेशन करते हैं तो या तो वो मालूम पड़ जाएगा या नहीं मालूम पड़ेगा, लेकिन जब अंडरस्टैंड करते हैं तो मिसअंडरस्टैंडिंग की पॉसिबिलिटी रहती है, क्योंकि आपकी व्यू गलत है। यू आर इन्वेस्टिगेटिंग विद द रॉन्ग व्यू, understanding the wrong view, then there will be problems.
Shailesh is saying that isn't investigation colored by moha at times? That is, perception issues can arise.
You see, what is investigation? I'm primarily talking of investigation into suffering, not the scientific investigation, things of that kind. So we have already come to a realization that attachment to five khandas is the primary cause of suffering. Now this is, of course, you can say article of faith, or whether you can call it our understanding, or you can call it based on our experience. So within that paradigm we are investigating. So within that paradigm, when we are investigation, we are trying to find out. By actual experience, we are trying to find out. If the mind is clouded, we will not be able to find out. That's all right. So we accept we are not able to find out. If the mind is, so it's a issue of investigating where our attachment is lying. It may be attachment to perception, of course. because that is quite often a very, very strong reason of suffering. So, because perception is also being investigated, so it cannot cloud us. Is it clear?
Shlesh, is it clear?
What are we investigating? We are investigating all the khandas. Body is comparatively easy. ये शरीर में बीमार हूँ तो इसलिए दुख हो रहा है या परेशानी हो रही है या डर लग रहा है इस कारण से कि कुछ हो जाएगा, मरने वाला हूँ कि नहीं मरने वाला हूँ कि ये है. But the perception itself is being investigated, and then we can figure out कि हाँ मेरे को लग रहा है कि मैं ठीक हूँ, तो बस क्लियर है कि मैं परसेप्शन से अटैच हो गया. If my perception tells I am right, then clearly I am attached to it. So to be able to see perception is of course more dicey, needs more sharpness of the investigation.
He's typing so. Yes, he's saying that yes, but thoughts arise during investigation. It's natural.
Yeah.
Is that part of investigation?
Yeah, thoughts arise, so we can become aware. Thoughts are arising. Sankhara is creating thoughts. Become aware. Thoughts are the result of sankhara, reaction. Thoughts in a particular situation, for example, when I am very upset and angry. The thoughts of anger can again, जिसने ऐसा कर दिया, that may arise, but you are able to see it. This is because of the hangover. This is the hangover of the event. It's all right. But if it is too strong, we may not be able to investigate. I'm not saying investigation is always possible.
And we have to always be
able to do that. It's not possible. But especially when we have suffering, deep suffering is experienced, I found that whenever I'm able to investigate, it gives a quite good insight and relief also, immediate relief. Many times you may not be able to investigate because we have caught hold of anger so strongly in our own justifications that you cannot investigate. Okay, then you suffer. That's the law of nature, then you will suffer. And then when suffering will naturally cease, it's a due course. कोई कब तक रहेगी suffering?
He's saying thanks.
Good.
Karo.
So, should we discuss Abhidhamma?
This is next week.
Next week, I think it's time. So you can send those two news and I'll